We just need a motion
I'll
to
make a motion to open the meeting.
second that motion. So motion is Joe Umberto, second is Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's open. I'm just going to do a roll call for attendance for the recorder. Member Allen?
Present.
Member Boucher, present. Member Heffernaker is absent tonight. Member Iannucci is also absent tonight. Member Carlich?
Present.
Member Kelly? Present. Member Umberto?
Present.
And for our professionals here tonight, we have our attorney, Elizabeth Cassidy,
Present.
and we have from Lankin Tully, our engineer, Dave Higgins,
Present.
and we have our building inspector tonight, Jim Cox. So with that, our first up this evening is 310 Scunnamunk. And we have Larry.
Good evening.
Good evening.
In particular, the subdivision map with the lot line, two lots. David has some comments. I think they're fairly.
Excuse me, Larry, could you
Yeah,
go?
sure, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
It's for short people.
You can raise it.
You can hold the microphone.
Okay. So basically, the comments for either application are fairly minor in nature. I would call them housekeeping. I don't know if you want Dave to go through them, or if we need to review them, or what.
Yeah, we'll just turn it to Dave right now, let him lead us through. And so Dave?
Okay, sure. If you want me to go through them one at a time?
Yeah, there's not too many of them.
Yeah, they were pretty minor. The first one, the existing areas shown for tax lots 7.21, 7.22, and 7.23 total 63,804 square feet, while the areas shown for the proposed lots total 63,805 square feet. Note 2 should be corrected to indicate the total acreage of the tract. It is also recommended that the areas be denoted with a plus or minus to account for rounding off of the actual numbers. Number 2, monumentation should be provided for the angle points of the town road right-of-way. Number 3, some of the text on the plan, for example, the town approval block, the note box discussing the property corners not being marked, and the vicinity map is less than the 0.08 inches required by the Orange County Clerk's Office and should be adjusted as necessary. Number 4, text masking should be provided so that line work does not overlap the text. And number 5, dimensions should be provided for the yard setbacks. So those were the comments that we had related to the subdivision plan. And do you want to go through the other letter, which related to individual lots as well?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this had to do mainly with the drainage, grading, and erosion control plans for the property. Number 1, siltation fence provided on the plan should be parallel with the ground contours. For the most part, they were. There was, I think, 1 or 2 that might have been a little bit off. Number 2, there appears to be an errant proposed 660 contour fragment on the plot plan for lot 1 that should be deleted. Number 3, plan should reference the existing SWIP permit required under the road construction. Number 4, all roof and footing drains should be shown as grading slopes towards existing property in the village. We would recommend all roof and footing drains be connected or directed to the proposed dry well. Roof and footing drains should be labeled and identified as to material size and slope. Number 5, notes and specifications for means and methods of revegetation, including fertilizers, mulch, topsoil, seed mixture, etc., should be provided. Number 6, soil testing witnessed by village representatives as well as calculations of sizing of dry wells should be provided. And number 7, on the plot plan for lot 1, general note 3 indicates the correct square footage of the property, but the acreage is incorrect.
And you had all this ahead of time, right, Larry?
Yes.
Yep. So you're good with that. The only thing I would, well, let me go to you, Elizabeth, too.
Okay, so in addition to Dave's comments, seeker, the applicant has submitted a short form environmental assessment form. I would recommend that the applicant include earth moving as part of the proposed action so that it's incorporated. This can be done as a condition of approval. This is a type 2 action under seeker for both the earth moving as well as the lot line change. 239 review appears to be complete. County Planning did issue a letter dated 1/23/2024 indicating a local determination. And should the board move forward with any approval, I recommend that they be subject to the underlying bonding requirements of the 2020 subdivision approval, and the applicant must maintain the same until they're released by resolution of the village board of trustees.
I
So
think,
the existing bonding resolution should remain in place.
okay. Any comments from the board?
When you speak, can you speak into, thank you.
You can move it closer.
You know how much I love talking to my.
I'm really sorry, but for some reason your voice does not come through well.
You know, I think I'd like to see it made a condition to make sure the drainage is taken care of before the sign off.
And just to be clear, you're referring to John who had comments. I believe they might be taken care of, to like sign off from John, because
Okay.
Dave's covering tonight. I did find his email. There was a December email about running, there was a December email regarding runoff. We can make that a condition of approval that John O'Rourke's gives us a letter that he's satisfied that that's been
Right,
resolved.
yep, perfect. All right, and I think, Larry, anything you want to mention?
No, like I said, I'd like, if the board would consider a conditional final on these, where it's just housekeeping items, cleaning up the maps and whatnot, it's not gonna change anything that's being proposed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. And I think we are prepared to do that, and I think Elizabeth has a draft resolution. And no other comments by the board, questions or comments?
No, not mine.
Okay, so if you want to read that into the record,
Okay,
Elizabeth.
I'll pull the mic closer to me, this is weird. Resolution to approve amended subdivision application and site plan for 310 Scunnamunk Street. Whereas the Village of Monroe Planning Board is in receipt of an application to amend an existing two-lot subdivision located at 310 Scunnamunk Street and for site plan approval. Whereas the applicant previously received approval for a two-lot subdivision together with street improvements on or about April 27th, 2020. Said subdivision plat was filed in the Orange County Clerk's Office on or about October 20th, 2020 as map 239-20, 4 sheets. And whereas an adjoining subdivision in the town of Monroe has been approved, said subdivision eliminates the need for a cul-de-sac as there is adequate turnaround in the adjoining subdivision. And whereas since the approval of the subdivision, the Village of Monroe Code has been amended requiring site plan approval for certain earth-moving work, and the proposed construction has triggered the need for site plan approval. Whereas the Planning Board has received and considered the following: application dated January 11th, 2024, short form environmental assessment form dated January 11th, 2024, amended subdivision plat prepared by Civil Tech Engineering and Surveying, PC, dated January 4th, 2024, last revised January 29th, 2023. Plot plan Lot 1, prepared by Civil Tech Engineering and Surveying, PC, dated July 26, 2023, last revised January 29th, 2024. Plot plan Lot 2, prepared by Civil Tech Engineering and Surveying, PC, dated July 26, 2023, last revised January 29th, 2024. Comments of the village building inspector, village engineer, and planning board attorney. Orange County Department of Planning 239 review dated January 23rd, 2024, indicating local determination. Whereas the Planning Board has determined that this is a Type 2 action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, and no further environmental review is required. Whereas the proposed changes to the subdivision constitute a, quote, lot line change, quote, end quote, as defined by Chapter 175 of the Village of Monroe Code, and the Planning Board has the discretion to waive further review under the subdivision code. Whereas the application does not require a public hearing, and the Planning Board has elected not to hold a public hearing. Now therefore be it resolved, the Planning Board, grants the proposed lot line change and site plan approval subject to the following conditions. 1, applicant to address the comments as set forth in the memos of David Higgins, PE of Lankin Tully Engineering, dated February 6, 2024, and I'm going to add, because you have a separate, what's your dirt?
This is
The-
February 12th was the second.
February 12th. So you got to get both, okay? and Elizabeth Cassidy, Planning Board Attorney, dated February 27th, 2024. And Larry, I'll get you my comment memo, which is short and sweet. Chairman shall be authorized to sign the plat upon confirmation from the village engineer and Planning Board Attorney that all outstanding conditions have been satisfied. Applicant to pay all fees. Applicant to obtain all permits. Resolution of the Planning Board approving the name of Lone Pine Drive for the right-of-way dated March 23, 2021 shall remain unaltered by this approval. This resolution shall not alter the bonding conditions of the original 2020 approval, including the bond in the amount of $186,481. Such bonding conditions may only be changed by resolution of the village board. 7, the applicant acknowledges that the right-of-way shall not be offered or accepted for dedication by the village, to be clear, of Monroe. It shall be maintained as a private street. The applicant has represented that the town of Monroe has agreed to maintain such right-of-way. To the extent the town of Monroe fails to do so, the applicant will be responsible for the same. And then addressing the December 28th, 2023 email of John O'Rourke concerning the runoff from the property, and a letter that he is satisfied that that has been resolved.
Great, thank you.
Anybody have any other conditions?
Any questions on what we read it? Any good? All right, then we need a motion to approve the amended subdivision application and the site plan along with the conditions.
I'll make that motion.
Member Umberto makes the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Member Kelly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, resolution passes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Larry. You too.
Good night.
Okay, next up is 123, 125 Elm Street. Well, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thanks, Mr. Chairman. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Hang on 1 second.
Sure.
So here's what I'd like, if you could, Mike, because the board, you haven't been before us, I think it was like July 22, I think.
This particular application?
I think so. Am I wrong on that?
It's somewhere around that time
Yeah,
period.
about that time.
Correct, yes.
So I wasn't the chairman, and most of you weren't on the board. You were.
And I wasn't actually representing the application at that time, so it's kind of a fresh start in a sense.
Yes, so maybe you can just take the first few minutes and just bring the board up on what the project is intended to do.
Sure. Can you bring the plans up on the screen? I don't know, we used to do that upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
You bring previous files, yeah. Okay, they're there.
Might be that one.
You got that one?
Check it out.
Hey.
That'll work.
This is Ellen.
There it is.
Go to the first sheet first. Let's look at the existing conditions, or I should say the second sheet.
This thing's got like kind of a little bit. of
Yeah, it's got a lag that
Yeah.
I never had before. Bear with us.
Okay.
This is.
Yes, just go slow, scroll down slow. It'll
There we
appear
go.
as you go.
I'm gonna take the mic with me so I get a little closer to the
Go
screen.
right ahead.
Is this where we want to be?
A little bit.
Should be a-
Usually, can you get on your pad like this?
So what you have here essentially are three existing structures that are on the site. Looking at the area to the right, you have number 123 there, which is a one-story block building. That building is essentially currently utilized as an auto body auto repair shop. It's been there for a while. The parking lot that surrounds it is storing vehicles that are there essentially for, repair. You have a one-story frame dwelling to the upper left-hand side of the site. That's number 125. Essentially, it's a single-family dwelling as it stands right now, but it's unoccupied as far as I know. Is it commercial? Okay, I will correct that then. And then behind that, in between the two buildings, essentially what you have there is another one-story framed garage. At this time right now, the one-story framed garage is essentially just supporting the auto body repair shop for some storage of materials and things of that nature. You do have essentially two lots here. There's two tax lots that are actually noted on Orange County tax maps. The survey we've been working with is showing another lot line in between. We're going to have a survey that's going to be updated, and we'll be able to clarify what the middle lot essentially is there. But this is the existing conditions as shown right now. Most of the site's paved. Again, there's vehicles stored throughout the site that are there to be repaired through the auto body repair shop. And if we can scroll down to sheet 3, we can take a look at what the proposed project is. So essentially, all the three existing structures will remain the same. However, if you look at the building to the right, you'll see that we have a proposed 2,000 square foot first floor addition, and that's to support the existing auto body and repair shop that's there. And above that, we'll have a 4,000 square foot addition that's essentially for office space and storage. Again, to support the auto body and auto repair shop business that's there. The other two buildings will remain intact as is and utilized currently as they are. So in nature, what we're proposing here is fairly simple. Again, Brock and Mann, I think, had represented this project before I was on board. And my understanding is from looking at correspondence, there's certainly some variances that are required for this particular project. The project went before the Zoning Board of Appeals, and at that time, the Zoning Board of Appeals, they have issued a letter that is dated May 11th, 2022, and it appears that they're suggesting that if we could consolidate the lots, in other words, remove the lot lines, it would go a long ways in reducing the variances that are required for the project. The applicant is certainly willing to do that. So the site plan that I have shown here right now does not show any of those existing lot lines. So the intention is to combine the lots and thereby reduce the area variances and bulk variances that are required. That letter suggested that we come back to the planning board and work with the planning board through the SEQA process to get a better feel for fleshing out what the final site plan will look like, which I think will ultimately dictate what our variances are. And then at that time, we could probably go back to the Zoning Board of Appeals and revisit that board for the variances that would be required at that time. If you could zoom into the zoning bulk table, I think it should be on this sheet, like in the upper left-hand corner. On this sheet. So you'll have to kind of go up and to the left. Scroll up and maybe to the left a little bit, and we should see it. There it is. So the bulk variances that are required is we will fall slightly short on lot area. 40,000 square feet is required, and 39,518 square feet will be provided after we've completed the lot consolidation. I believe if you can scroll to the left just a little bit.
Moved it completely off and went to the, just pull it back up.
There's a minor front yard variance. I think it's 25 feet required, and I think 24 feet is what we're able to provide. That's actually an existing setback that's there as a result of the existing structures. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we have a 4.9 foot setback from the back, where I believe 25 feet is required also. Again, that's an existing condition, but while we're here, we're going to approach a ZBA and go get those variances that are required. So those would be the three variances that would be required as a part of this project. And again, we made this submittal just kind of in a conceptual form to kind of like reignite the project, so to speak, come back, talk to this board, get some comments from the consultants, and then go back, do some homework, and revise the plans accordingly.
Okay.
Work in progress.
Yes. So I had a couple questions. You said there was a letter to the planning board from the zoning board?
Yes, I have that with me.
What's that date? When was that sent?
This
May 11th.
May 11th, 2022. I can read it if you'd like.
Yeah, and just a second, do you remember a letter? I don't think that was ever issued to us.
It's actually addressed to Chairman Boucher.
It might be addressed to me, but I don't think we ever received it.
That may be the case. I can just paraphrase it. I mean, it basically says what I said earlier.
Read it
Yeah.
now, because we're gonna have to look at it anyway. But you do definitely want to get a copy into us. Yep, that'd be good, so.
So that's an overall summary of the project. At this point, if the board and the consultants have any questions or concerns, we'd be glad to answer them. We did receive Mr. Higgins' comment letter. We take no exception. There's also some housekeeping items associated with that letter as well. And we'd be glad to, make those changes and revisions and come back to the board.
So I'm just gonna have our engineer, go ahead and address some of this, and you could sit for a moment, Mike, if you want, right there. Don't go too far.
Okay, can you hear me? That's okay. Prior submissions from 2020 and 2022 were made for two of the properties shown on the plans. Those prior submissions involved the potential addition to existing structures on the lots and use of the property for motor vehicle repair. It was previously determined by the planning board and their consultants that the proposed expansion of the existing motor vehicle repair use required variances from the zoning board of appeals. The applicant was also advised to consider consolidation of the properties to minimize the number of variances that would be needed. We have the following comments on the plans provided. Number one, the plan is unclear as to what properties are involved, what the existing and proposed uses are, and what is proposed. All three sheets of the plan set use the same line type for tax lot 207-1-5 as that used for lots 207-1-2 and 207-1-3. Is 207-1-5 part of the application? I'm assuming that's no.
Yes, that's correct. The answer is no. The survey we received had that line type there. It was a small oversight. We can change those line types on 207-15 to represent just like adjacent tax parcel lines, and that'll clarify that. But it's only the two lots that David mentioned.
It had the meets and bounds on there too, which is part of the reason why I was a little confused.
I was confused myself when I got it.
Okay. Continuing with number one, what is the existing and proposed use for the buildings? So if you can, I know you just mentioned those, but maybe you can label those on the plan as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that.
Number two, plan sheet 2 depicts a boundary line running through tax lot 207-1-2. Is this an existing property line or a proposed property line? Any existing property lines that are to be removed as part of the proposed lot consolidation should be labeled as such.
Yeah, I think what I'll do to clean it up is probably do an inset on the site plan that shows like a lot consolidation plan. That'll probably clarify things a lot for us.
Okay, yep. Number three, the plan references a survey map prepared by Civil Tech Engineering and Surveying, PC, prepared in 2002. As site conditions may have changed in the past 20-plus years, an updated survey should be provided.
Agreed. We'll look into that.
Number four, parking calculations should be provided in spaces shown on the plan, including ADA accessible parking as required.
Yep.
Number five, the bulk requirements table on sheet 3 of the plan set indicates that a variance is required for the front yard setback. Based upon the rear yard setback of 25 feet and that only 4.9 feet is provided, it appears that a rear yard setback is also required.
Agreed. Yeah, I have to put an asterisk in that spot as well.
Okay. Number six, an environmental assessment form should be provided for the village's SECR review.
Yep, we can do that.
Number seven, if not already done, referral to the Orange County Department of Planning should be made due to the property's proximity to the Heritage Trail. Number eight, any outdoor storage of vehicles or vehicle parts should be identified on the plans. We note the special permit criteria specifically prohibits the storage of vehicles within any required yard and states that discarded oil cans, tires, parts, etc. shall not be stored in any section of the site except within enclosed buildings.
We're going to look into that, see what we can do to try to comply better.
Okay. Number nine, existing water and sewer service lines should be shown on the plans.
We'll take care of that as well.
Number 10, plans for drainage and erosion and sediment control are required.
No problem.
Number 11, plans for landscaping and lighting are required. We suggest landscaping plans address screening between the site and the Heritage Trail.
Agreed.
Number 12, a dumpster enclosure is required consistent with the village's standard detail. And number 13, any proposed signage should be shown on the plans.
And I know you had mentioned, Mike, and I'm just going to ask Jim to clarify, because you had said there was 3 variances that you needed. I'm seeing from Jim's memo, you need at least 5.
As, when was that memo issued? I don't know if I have a copy of it.
I gave it
Oh, okay.
I have five.
Yeah, so basically, there's a couple of, there's one new one because of the code changes, which is the increasing the bulk of the existing building.
Going up,
going straight up, which is the mass.
Yep.
So that's just part of the same setback type of issue. But you've also got the parklands, which is, you can't be within 200 feet of a public park, school, or place of assembly, so we do have a linear park, we also have the crane.
Sure.
Which I think the applicant knew about that in advance, so that is an additional.
Understood.
And if, you gotta bear in mind too, is an already an existing
Mhm.
operation, so.
Yeah, as I,
That'll help as far as that goes.
yeah,
You also do need enclosure, like you said, for garbage, but they also require enclosure for any parts, discarded parts, tires, things like that, that have to be kept.
sure.
So 200-51 actually encompasses everything for motor vehicles, so that has to be followed.
Okay, so the one thing I didn't readily see in the code, I don't know if Jim or Dave knows this, is the parking requirements.
Yeah, I don't think there's an actual,
I saw it for office, for general office, but I didn't see anything for,
The parking generation table? you mean?
Yeah.
I don't know offhand, I didn't look them up, I just,
okay,
I mean, you're gonna need parking for a public, public place, someone, people to park and ADA access.
okay.
and whatnot.
I think that code is from ITE, so it's a bit of an older, I think, code reference. I mean, we can probably take a look at some of the newer IT regs and see if they've got anything in there as well.
I think you're gonna use a combination of the office and probably motor vehicle, but you're also gonna take into consideration storage of cars.
Correct.
To anticipate what they're gonna have.
It'll also have to account for the use of all, whatever the parking is, has to address the use of all three of those structures.
Yeah, absolutely, those are all gonna be combined.
Correct. Agreed.
See, the fence is still on there. That was like 2 years ago.
The fence has been, they pulled a permit for that many years ago, it was encroached onto the Ashland
Right.
property, they were very aware of it, and here we are.
So, Elizabeth, you had some things I know as well.
I'll email this to you tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
I apologize, I finished them relatively late. I'm gonna mirror Dave's comment now that you've told us that 2071-5 is out. That's great, thank you. My only concern with that is whenever I see a survey and it is on there, are there any other plans for that lot?
No, it's not even in the same ownership. I mean, Civil Tech did that survey, so while Larry is here tonight, I probably should have tried to ask him a few questions, but I don't know the history of it. I don't know why that property was surveyed, but I checked on, ImageMate before I came here tonight.
I think so.
I think that's owned by them.
It's,
owned by the
not part of the
principal.
project.
well, I mean, but online, it shows different entities. It may be the same person, but there are different entities, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the same principle. So there's 123 Elm Street LLC, there's 125 Elm Street LLC. and
Correct.
there's an individual. And the individual is the principal of the other.
Understood.
One more thing overlooked too is there is a residential line.
Yes,
right
I know
there,
the
so
SR
there is a
tenant.
screening that you'll end up having to do, and I believe that's where that house is.
Yeah. Screening. I'm gonna add that to my.
And it's only a small portion on the left-hand side coming down Anderson. That's residential. Everything else is.
CB from there.
Okay, I'll add that.
GB.
I'll add that so you have it in my notes. I concur with, the comment memos of, Dave and Jim. The applicant, once the applicant submits an environmental assessment form, we can then begin our seeker review. I anticipate it's an unlisted action. We will need to coordinate with, ZBA. The application does require 5 variances, as we've been talking about, the 200 feet, front yard, the, remember the new, nonconformity, you can't go straight up because it increases the mass, they have to step it in. Lot size, rear yard setback, building inspector Cox issued a land use determination dated March 30th, 2022, as to only 125 Elm Street, indicating it's a permitted use subject to special permit. And I just, Jim, I'm assuming you're happy with the land use determination form, we don't need a new one, but I just have that as a note. The site plan, obviously, we talked about the encroachments, those will have to be the condition of any approval. Okay. Applicant to address landscaping and screening, and applicant to, I just want to draw the applicant's attention to the requirements of 200-51O, which relate to both screening as well as parking and number of cars on site overnight, things like that. And then this is just a housekeeping matter for our files because we do have two open files, 123 Elm Street and 125. If you could send us a letter saying we authorize the closeout of, I believe it's 123, that would be great.
Okay.
And we can transfer if there's any out, that one was probably before we switched to the escrow scheme, so you probably don't have any escrows, but we can close that out if there's any outstanding bills, those will be squared up. I just want housekeeping and make it one application.
I think also, Elizabeth, I think it's included in that 251. Right now, I think you can get onto that lot from anywhere on the street. There's no curb cut.
Correct. That's what it, that's.
So I think we need to get a curb cut in there because that is just,
It's part of, if you look at the there are, you have to, it looks like you can, anybody can just pull in at any point. There are limits to how wide those, there has to be channelized. Is that the right word, channelized flow?
Yeah,
Right,
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay, we'll look into that.
You know, a driveway curb cut, single
Okay.
location.
You can't be able to back a car out onto Elm.
Yeah.
And bear in mind, your front setback is not measured to the center of the street.
Okay, understood.
It's measured to the edge of the road. So that does increase it, but they can't do that measure to the center of the road.
Okay.
no, I had a question too on, and Jim would be, maybe remember this too. We had 2 lot mergers. One was allowed, one wasn't. One was allowed because,
Residential. There's no merger of lots in residential districts. This is commercial. Perfectly
This is
allowed.
allowed.
okay.
Absolutely allowed.
So not the Q, but these Spring Hill apartments are not in,
They
that's,
just merge those lots.
That's a more
No, no.
complicated, that's a much more complicated discussion.
no, I'm not looking for a discussion. I'm saying we didn't allow them to do it. As a planning board, we told them they weren't allowed.
It wasn't,
I mean, they put in for it. We denied it. Based,
they chose not to pursue that. You did the preliminary, no, you can't do that, and they had an avenue available to them. They chose not to pursue that and proceeded with the non-merger. That's the simple answer. It's a different, this is a commercial property, so that's not an issue.
right, okay. Good. So, anything else, Elizabeth, from you?
No, I had a couple little notes. I'll clean them up. I'll refile it on the OneDrive and then I'll email it to Mike Morganti so he has it. You may get it first, so I'll try to get it to you tomorrow.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so this is, a lot of preliminary.
Sure.
Mike, got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll clean this up and revise the plans and we'll be back before the board.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board members?
No.
Any of it? No? Good? All right, we're all good? I think, you got your homework.
I got my marching orders. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
You too. Oh, well, I'd love to stay longer. I don't think we need
Where's
to.
the agenda? Do we have minutes to approve?
No, there's no minutes.
Okay. All right.
So we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
What's that? There's no minutes.
I just asked the same question.
Did you want to stay and
Do you want to hang
give
out?
us a song and dance?
Trying to make sure I don't miss anything.
So we need a motion to adjourn if, Fred just made,
I made the
member
motion.
Kelly made the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Member Allen got in there as a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed?
What's that?
Well, sorry to send you away. It feels like you just got here.